better say something.
Yeah, I seem to have brought silence with me. Yeah.
You been watching the cricket, Jonathan?
No, I'm going to the test match, and Chris is coming to me with me one day next week as well. And no, I don't watch I don't watch the 100 or the T20. I'm afraid, just not my cup of tea.
I'm not surprised to hear about Ben Stokes taking time out. I think he must have burnt himself out.
Yes, burn. Yes, in many ways, yeah. But it's an extraordinary thing. All these athletes saying that they've got mental problems, and I think there is a lot to be considered there about the mental health of top sportsmen these days.
Yeah. Well, I think
Um,
the top football teams that I've always thought, they've got oodles of talent, but on the day, it's the psychology that wins the match. As
and
Peter
it's
Allen
the
used to say,
just
6 inches between the ears.
yes, that's right. But it's also the adjustment, isn't it, to this extraordinary. I mean, with cricket, with the extraordinary demands of touring. I mean, the
Yeah.
days were when we started being interested in the game. There was a major tour once every 2 years, and there wasn't necessarily a tour every winter. And cricket had a rhythm to it, the season, and people didn't get weren't so exposed to the press and to other problems. And it's now you have to have a particular personality. And what is sad is the number of really talented young players who probably never really get to the top because of the demands of the program and the mental and emotional demands of everything.
You detect it. I mean, this COVID bubble stuff hasn't helped with the pressures, but you can tell what you were saying just there, the mental approach, the ability to present themselves, express themselves, and public media and what have you. That's changed in leaps and bounds over the last
Yes.
10 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're equipped in every sense, aren't they, to deal with the pressures. But when you've had a year like the last year, I've just been watching the Olympics, and a lot of them are saying, after the year we've had, well, in that statement alone, there's obviously been a lot of pressure that they've been facing
Yeah.
and they've been preparing for a delayed Olympics. It's 5 years since
And
it.
they've been preparing in a bubble where they can't
Yeah,
communicate with other people except those immediately around them, and
yeah.
it must be claustrophobic in an extraordinary way.
Mm,
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Somebody will write a book about it, I'm sure, one day.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, in the old days as a cricketer, when you went off to Australia or South Africa on a winter tour, and you sailed out there over weeks, and you formed relationships with members of the press, and you knew there was a sort of level of trust between you. But now, when you're looking over your shoulder the whole time for pressmen who are trying to find a story and something scabrous and a bit of gossip, um, it must make that sort of bubble of loneliness
Yeah,
all the more worse.
mm,
Whereas in the old
mm.
days, you had a sort of social side to it, and it was a human sort of enterprise, not just a sporting one. But it must be very difficult for some of these players now, I think.
particularly when, as I said, in COVID, you've been isolated from people who would be there to support you ordinarily. Yeah,
Absolutely, yes,
with press and
absolutely.
media.
Yeah,
I remember when I was at school, Alan Ashcroft was the school hero there. He was a British Lion, and he went out.
yeah,
You're dead right. Long journey out. They played both New Zealand, the All Blacks, and Australia because value for money. Now they're out there. They might as well beat as many as they can. And they came in
yeah,
away for the whole summer and part of the autumn term. Whereas
yes,
now it's bish bash bosh out in your bubble, prepare, play, next game, bish bash bosh, more travelling and I mean European Championships with all the travelling. England had it comparatively easy, but the other teams are saying
yeah,
the travelling just took it out of them. And I think the
yeah,
cricket they've been asked to play more in less time, and it's just and people like Ben Stokes who are absolutely brilliant. It just
mm.
it's just a tremendous amount of pressure, isn't it?
Oh, terrible. I mean, in the old days, when you went to Australia, the cricket team, you got on the boat at Tilbury, stopped off at Colombo, played a couple of informal games there, got back on the boat, and several sort of weeks later, you were in Fremantle. But now, when you just get on a plane, you're expected to perform in a top match in a matter of 2 weeks or less.
I learned something from the Olympics with the dressage. The horses have it easy. They can go to sleep standing up, apparently. So standing on an aircraft for 12 hours is no problem to them.
No, that's right. Yeah.
For the riders.
Yes.
The rest.
Can I put a different perspective on it all?
No.
Cause pressure. A single mum living in a tower block with 3 kids, or a footballer or cricketer that's out in the fresh air, albeit training, not quite as normal. Which one of those is under the most pressure?
Different pressure.
Yeah, but just because somebody's got worse pressure, it doesn't make your pressure less
No,
valid.
I'm not suggesting it doesn't. I'm just saying there's pressure for ordinary people as much as for sports.
Without a doubt, Keith, without a doubt.
But it's like being in jail.
I wonder about.
Not that any of you know about that, but it is like being in jail.
About the bubble
in a flat, for 3-4 weeks at a time.
Hang on, who's speaking then?
Right. I was going to say I'd like to take that idea of the bubble in a different direction. I think one of the problems with top sportsmen is they are wrapped in cotton wool. Footballers, cricketers, yes, there's a lot of pressure to play, but they don't have to, many of them don't have to face up to the problems of everyday life, as Keith was saying. And is it a case that they're not building up everyday mental resilience? We all take knocks in life, and are they too protected?
Yeah, probably.
It's an interesting point, Ron. I mean, take Keith's example. Single mum, 3 kids in a flat. She has to look after those kids and all the rest of it, but she's not being evaluated all the time. That's the pressure of the sportsman, that they, right or wrong, they're on a pedestal and every other bugger's trying to knock them off. It's a different pressure.
Especially the people that.
But that's not new, is it?
No.
Sportsmen have always been evaluated all the time. I do take that some of them are under great stress and there's a problem, but I just think many of them just haven't developed resilience, mental resilience.
I think the pace of life is different nowadays, Ron, but I think the other people that don't help the situation at all are the press and media. They build things up, and that's another demon on your shoulder, The Daily Mail said this, what do they mean, all that sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
And you don't have
Jonathan was talking about them, but Jonathan was talking about them building up relationships on the boat.
Yeah.
But they were interested, at that time, they were interested in sporting stories, not the colour of your underwear or whatever. These days, the press seem to be more interested in the private life and the way they perform on the pitch.
Yeah. Right.
That's what sells copy, you see.
Yeah.
We buy the stuff.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Sorry.
People
do, Ian.
I was just going to say, anyone remember the famous quote by the great legendary cricketer Keith Miller when asked about pressure? He said, pressure is flying a Spitfire with a Messerschmitt up your arse. Because that's what Keith Miller.
Cricket is not pressure.
That's what Keith Miller had to do. And then his cricket career and his life was spent enjoying those moments, enjoying that time,
Mm.
because
Mm.
it's all relative.
Yeah.
You're reminding me of Douglas Bader's talk to the schoolgirls.
Right.
Remember
Do we need to know this?
We won't, Dean.
Was that any was it different to your talk to the school?
Remember we recorded it, Ian, yeah.
Yes, remember
Yeah. Sorry, Ian, I interrupted you.
No. I'd finished. I'd had my rant. It was just a little story that I'd seen on Facebook about Douglas Bader, but it's probably too risque for the to be
Come on, let's
Well,
hear it.
tell us and edit
Oh.
yourself.
Oh,
Come on, you can't tease us now and not tell us.
Well, it was this Bader who's some say he was arrogant. He wasn't. He was typical of the man of his age, and Keith Miller would be like that. Self-confident, take on the world and all the rest of it. So he didn't mind what he said, and half the time he forgot what he was saying. And he was he was at the school with the schoolgirls and said, I was flying along and there was a fucker to my right, and there was a fucker to my left, and 2 fuckers behind me and a fucker in front of me. And the school mistress said, "Oh, girls, the fucker was a German aircraft, warplane." Yeah, that's absolutely right, but these fuckers were flying Messerschmitts. What time did I say that?
You're going to have some editing, Ian.
We'll have to edit that one, definitely.
Very good.
Yeah, very good stuff.
Right. Shall we get into it? Just before we get into it, can anyone tell me what was the first gold medal won by Great Britain in the Olympics
Ever. So 1896.
ever?
Yeah.
It's got to be 1896, hasn't it?
It's probably
Fencing. Fencing.
poetry reading,
Croquet.
No,
singing.
no.
Ballroom dancing.
No.
Dominoes.
Wrestling.
Actually,
War.
it's similar to an event that's taking place, but not exactly the same.
Oh, that's helpful.
That only gives
was it not like the-
147 to choose from.
200 yards.
Pentathlon.
100 yards.
Sorry?
So, some race over a certain number of yards rather
No,
than me.
it's it's
No.
we had a young lady win a silver medal,
Weightlifting.
similar. Yes,
Weightlifting.
it was, I believe it was the one-arm deadlift.
The interesting thing about the weightlifting from the very first Olympics in 1896 was that after the competition had finished, the King of Greece lifted the weights higher than the winning gold medal.
Is that right?
Oh, wow.
Was she an undertaker?
Anyway, that was, I just heard that the other day on the on one of the commentaries, said Britain's first ever gold medal. I believe it was a one-arm deadlift.
You've got to get the words in the right order, haven't you?
Yeah. And then he went on to be chased by Richard Kimball. Didn't
Right, John.
he? Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to find a way.
Too many films, too many films. Too many films.
Scabrous. I've heard that word before, but I think it's a great word. Thank you, Jonathan. Scabrous.
Scabrous.
I'll get it in it
Scabrous.
somehow.
Scabrous.
Yes, Scabrous. It's Eric's birthday in the next 7 days. Young Eric is 82 on the 9th of August. My ambition over the next few weeks is to get the lad out and out and about and mingling with people because he's still suffering. Ed, the big release should take place this Wednesday. I've been risk assessed and I managed to fool them, and now I'm regarded as a satisfactory person to get Ed in a wheelchair and drive him somewhere, which will be 20 yards to the house, to the building next door for our meeting on Wednesday or
Very
tomorrow
good.
morning.
Very
Yeah.
good.
So it'll be out and about. They'll probably tell me you don't want to go. Anyway. I've been talking to Vinny, who's feeling much better, perky, the typical perky Vinny, and he's going to attend the Beaton meeting next week, next Wednesday.
Give me my best wishes, please.
Oh, I will do, Chris. I will. Just for interest, we've had 4 meetings at the Beaton Lifestyle, and we've averaged 12.5 people per meeting. Oh, we've had 3 12s and a 13, or something, 3 12s and a 14 we've had. So it's going quite well. And we've got a new member there, somebody who works as a part-time volunteer, and his name is Dave Doan. I don't know how you pronounce it, but D-O-A-N-E, Dave Doan. Some of you might know his slightly famous son, famous in these parts, Sean, who, apart from being an undertaker with Ferris, is the lead singer with the Everly Pregnant Brothers.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Anybody heard of the Everly Pregnant Brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and he agreed with me.
Don't
his
take
dad,
anybody to
Dave.
see them if they're easily offended.
Well, exactly. They're extremely funny, very good musicians, but I've never heard anything swearier in my life. Not even standing on the cop. And his dad, Sean Doan's dad, and myself agreed that there's no need for it. It's not big and it's not clever. But anyway, they're very good, the Everly Pregnant Brothers. And now
It is funny when they do it.
It's funny, but not every 30 seconds. No.
No.
But they're
Yeah.
good musically. They've got some very funny songs about Henderson's Relish and Me Pie's on Fire and things like that.
One of them writes an article in the Star on a fairly
Yeah.
regular basis. Yeah.
Well, I think that's Sean Doan. That's this
Right.
bloke's son.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, onwards and
John.
upwards. That's it for me. Yes.
Did you talking about swearing us or blasphemous or whatever? Have you
Yeah.
ever seen a guy called Blaster Bates?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
A long time ago. A long time ago.
I had to crawl out of.
Is he still around?
I don't think so. He was a what's it policeman in Sandbach, amongst other things. But he came to give a talk at the Salford University Sports Ground when I was a member of the university, and I literally, after half an hour, had to crawl on my knees and elbows out the room because I was in total.
Drink's a terrible thing.
He was so funny, you know. He was giving a serious talk on demolition, you know, chimneys and all the rest of it, and different types of fuses. So there was a science to it, but the other words, the expletives, got in the way. And
Yeah.
you know, although it was a funny story, it was a bloody funny story because of the way he
Yeah.
told it.
Yeah.
But honestly, we had a hot pot supper. I couldn't eat. I was just in total wreck.
Well, it's like Everly Pregnant Brothers who've got Chubby Brown as the lead singer.
And just for the benefit of people who don't know, Henderson's Relish. Jonathan, have you ever heard of Henderson's Relish?
That's a no.
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 Well,
Yes, I've
forget
heard
your
of
Lee and
those.
Perrins. Forget Lee and Perrins and forget Worcester sauce. Turn on to Endo's.
If
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you've never had a meat pie until you had Henderson's Relish on.
Oh, with it, yeah.
Never ever. It's just the best thing ever.
We should send him a crate
Really?
down for Christmas.
Why spoil a good meat pie?
I should go out afterwards. I should go out and afterwards and buy a crate full of them. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's
Oh,
Henderson.
look at that. Oh, product placement.
Oh yes, I've seen that. Of course I have. Yeah.
Did you hear what Paul said though?
Is he going to drink it? What did he say?
Is he going to drink it?
Go to the Hendo's.
Yeah. I think you're right there, Paul, actually.
It looks as if he'd already had a bed anyway this morning.
Oh, of course.
Empty.
But Jonathan, it looks like Liam Perrin's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Taste.
The label.
It's got a different taste.
right.
It's
Strong taste too.
yeah. I'm with you,
It's-
Big Paul. I'm heresy. I'm a heretic, or heretic, depending on
Heretic,
where you
yeah.
want to go. Yeah, I don't like sauces.
But do you like Henderson's or you don't like
No,
Henderson's?
I just don't like sauces. Full stop. I've had
Right.
Henderson's on pies, in pies, and it's nice. I just prefer not to have sauces. So I
Yeah.
prefer a meat pie with gravy.
Oh, I agree.
No,
Yeah. Yes.
No,
Oh,
no.
yes.
No,
Sacrilege, Keith.
I'm telling you,
When we vote,
you've never had a meat pie till you've had it with some Henderson's on it.
I think John's a closet southerner, you know. They have now
I am a
Now
southerner.
boys
yeah.
down with
He
it.
doesn't like Henderson's, he must be.
You mean when I go to Tesco locally here after the meeting, I won't be able to get it then?
No,
Yes.
Unlikely down south.
Yeah.
Probably not.
yeah.
You've got to show your
We-
card that
we'll-
you've had 2 jabs. You know, it's very. You've got to be.
We'll have to send you. We'll have to send you some more. The next time you come up here, we'll make sure that you get some Henderson's.
I'll get you some, Jonathan. I'll get you
Yeah.
Yes, you bring me down some next week. Yeah.
And a crate of Kellam Island beer.
I'll tell you what. There was once a TV program where two couples, and it's not risky. They swapped houses for the week, and the program I saw was a couple from Sheffield went and lived in a house in Surrey, and Surrey lived in the house on the edge of Sheffield, and the couple from and you had to leave a recipe for the other couple.
Yeah.
The couple from Sheffield left them a recipe that included Henderson's relish. And then we noticed that when the couple from Surrey were packing up to go home, the Henderson's relish went into the suitcase with them.
oh,
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
it's rumoured that Prince Philip once took a bottle of Henderson's home with him from the Cutler's Hall.
Together with
Anyway,
a silver.
enough of
2
Henderson.
other
Anyway.
pieces.
Well, that's what
Dave?
to
Dave the
look
Beard,
for
get on
next
with
week.
news.
So Dave, it's Dave's news of the week.
News of the week.
Dave's news of the week.
Right, I'm not sure what to class the first part under. It did turn out to be rugby union with a bit of boxing and biting and brawling. Anyway, leading 9-6 at half time, the Lions were totally outplayed in the second half by the Springboks, who scored 21 points without reply to win 27-9 and level the series at 1-1. Following the game, Kyle Sinclair was cited for biting South African player and faces a minimum 12-week ban if the citing is upheld. Football. Man City have made an offer of 100 million for Aston Villa's Jack Grealish. They're hoping that he'll ask for a transfer, having said he wouldn't move. He did turn up for training, unlike a certain Harry Kane who failed to turn up, and he's linked with a possible move to Man City as well.
I thought it was in an Olympic diving event today, Grealish.
He is. He's on the springboard, 3 meter springboard.
He fell off.
sponsored by Allied Carpets, isn't it?
Former Middlesbrough, Liverpool and England player Stuart Downing has announced his retirement at the age of 37, ending a 20-year career. MK Dons manager Russell Martin, no longer their manager. He's accepted the job at Swansea after first turning it down. And I won't say the usual description for this in view of the circumstances. Leeds and England defender Terry Cooper, who was part of the 1969 title winning team, has died at the age of 77.
Yeah, decent player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will use the term later on.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, very wise.
Yeah. Royal London One Day Cup. Games due to be played on the 28th involving Yorkshire and Lancashire were abandoned, no result, while Notts lost by 33 runs to
Oh,
Surrey.
no.
Oh, no.
On the 30th, Notts game was abandoned, no results. And then on the 1st of August, Lancashire beat Hampshire by 51 runs, but Yorkshire lost to Somerset by 5 wickets. They keep winning, Lancashire.
Notts did
and
beat
Notts-
Leicestershire, but most people do.
Yeah, and Notts beat Leicestershire by 7 wickets.
Worst team I've
And,
ever seen. Worst team
Recent
I've ever seen.
headline, Joffrey Archer looks like being out for the summer due to his elbow injury. Formula One. Prior to the Hungarian Grand Prix, F1 stewards had rejected Red Bull's appeal that the 10-second penalty for Hamilton in the British Grand Prix was insufficient. While in Hungary itself, Hamilton started on pole position, finishing third behind the winner, Alpine's Ocon, and Vettel in second in a race which saw 5 cars in a pile-up at the first corner of the opening lap. However, Vettel was disqualified for not having enough fuel in his car at the finish, so Hamilton moved up to second with his title rival Verstappen promoted from 10th to 9th.
There's some bizarre rules.
So Hamilton now 8 points in front.
You've got
of
to have
Verstappen.
you've got to have a litre of fuel
Pardon?
left in your car at the end of the race,
No.
and
Yeah.
they could only draw 0.3 of a litre out. So that's why he was
That's
disqualified.
right, yeah.
I don't
Did
know.
I
I
see
don't understand
some-
that. Don't
Did I
understand.
see something about the race winner, Ocon, was also investigated?
Well, it was a bizarre race anyway. I mean, when they had the crash and they red flagged it, they all went in because the weather changed markedly. So they all went in to change to slicks, but nobody told Lewis Hamilton. So there he is by himself on the grid waiting for the restart. And when they all went out, they were on faster tires and he lost about 19 seconds. So he did very well to work. But it was a race littered with, well, mistakes. That's all I could say. It was a bizarre race. And then they had these 2 objections afterwards. I think that was the first time Ocon has won a race at Formula One. I think the last time he won a race, he was in something like Formula 3 or Formula 2.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Boxing. Nottingham fighter Lee Wood won the WBA featherweight title after beating his Chinese opponent with a stoppage in the last round. Sorry. While on the same bill, Chris Billam-Smith beat Tommy McCarthy over 12 rounds with a split decision, giving him the British and European cruiserweight titles to go alongside his Commonwealth crown. Also on the bill was Ricky Hatton's son, Campbell, who had a comfortable points victory over his opponent, giving him his 3rd victory in 3 fights. Well, only 3 fights, so he's won them all. Horse racing, French trained filly Souza won the big race at Glorious Goodwood, the King George Qatar Stakes. But Batash, attempting to win the race for the 5th time, faded badly, finishing 7th, and could well be retired. Seems a knee injury has not recovered enough. Holly Doyle landed 123-1 treble on day 1 of Goodwood and became the first female jockey to win the Goodwood Cup by riding Trushan to victory. While jockey Kieran Schumacher celebrated his first Group 1 win on Lady Bowthorpe in the Qatar Nassar Stakes. The highlights on day 3. Olympics. won't go through all the results. I'm sure you've all been watching.
Yeah.
I know the last count I saw was 13 golds, 13 silver medals, and 12 bronze. But
So it's 15
Please.
silvers now and 13 bronze.
No, it's gone up today. We've won some more goals today.
they won 2 in sailing.
Yeah,
Two
we've,
wins.
we've got 13 goals.
The 49 class.
What's happened with that cycling with the Danish team tripping our lad up and then claiming innocence?
I'm not seeing.
Just thought I'd mention it.
No,
Not
they-
seeing anything about that.
the last I heard on the TV was they'd still not made a decision.
Yeah. The Danes, on a technicality, should have been disqualified, but they argued that they can't be because they're Danish.
Fair enough.
They both. They actually completed the ride because they caught the British rider, which means that they. So technically, the accident happened after they'd won the race. So I think that's where.
Yeah, but you can still get sent off after the match is finished, can't you?
Oh yes, you can.
Or if you've been substituted, like Jermaine Johnson. He once got sent off, he'd been substituted, and he was that angry, he kicked a plastic bottle and it hit somebody and the ref sent him off. He was already halfway down the tunnel, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
Yes, Chris.
Is tennis going to get mentioned? If not, could I mention something?
I'll let you mention it then, Chris. I must admit I'm not
Sorry,
good at this sport. It's just impossible.
No, you can't. You
Yeah.
can't. No, you can't. I
Can't
just want to
mention
mention Olympics to me has a lot of sportsmanship involved, and cameras of the world are watching you.
Yeah,
The only person so far that I've seen that doesn't seem to get that is Djokovic.
exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
if anyone saw it, is it?
Yeah.
If you saw it, there, is it one of the worst examples of absolute indiscipline and bad sportsmanship that you've seen in a long time? Right. For those of you who didn't see it, in the bronze, he's mucked up his gold medal chances. He's thrown away the semi-final. That's his fault. He's playing in the bronze medal match against a Spaniard called Buster. And on the cusp of losing, he has thrown his racket 30 yards into a grandstand. That's not an exaggeration, John, is it?
It's not at all.
If there'd been a crowd, it could have decapitated somebody. And then when he loses the next game, he demolished his racket in front of the umpire.
Yeah.
Unbelievably, this guy, who is world number one, was not defaulted, which the rules clearly state he should have been defaulted.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And thankfully, in this case, he lost.
Yeah.
So he got no medals and no gravitas for being the world champion, great player that he is. What got into his head? I have no idea.
Chris, you've got to understand, he's under an awful lot of pressure. He lives in a block of flats.
In fairness, he did have a very rough childhood.
He did.
He did.
Obviously.
He did, but it ain't too rough at the moment as world number one. He has a responsibility to people watching the Olympics, in my opinion. It's gone under the radar. I don't see it in any headlines.
No, and it should be.
It was. I was. Well, I just was shocked. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
I mean, those rackets must cost several £1,000s. I don't know how much, but they must cost several £1,000s.
I thought, John, I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious that Buster's brother went into the stand and brought the racket back to the court. I thought that was. Nobody said a word.
Did you?
But the young lad Buster just looked at the scoreboard and the ref, and he could not believe that he wasn't winning the next match because of a default. It was staggeringly bad officialdom, but Sorry,
Was it
guys.
Andy Murray?
got-
Was
I'm
it
got-
Andy Murray who lost out a few years ago because he hit the ball into the crowd? Or was it Tim
Yeah,
Henman?
Tim-
Yeah.
Tim
Somebody
Henman.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, a lot less violent than
Tim Henman.
Tim
Sublime
At
Henman.
one stage, I did think that the Chinese lineswoman was going to leave the court because she looked so frightened.
Did you see,
She looked petrified of what was going to happen.
Apparently, Rafa
Sublime-
Benitez, not Rafa Benitez.
Rafa Benitez, yeah. Rafa
Rafa
Nadal.
Nadal has made
Rafa
comment.
Nadal. Yes. Has he? Has he?
Yes.
And he said,
Right. Okay.
Sublime
Did he
to
say it?
Ridiculous. Did you
He
see?
was playing a song. I don't know what the song is, but who is it?
Sublime to the Ridiculous. Did you see the? Was it Egyptian?
All right, it's my phone. Susan's just got it.
Ice cream man.
The Qatar gold medal winner agreeing with the Italian who they were on level pegging for the high jump, and they came to an agreement that they could both have gold.
oh yeah,
See that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought,
Mm.
Brilliant.
and when the medal
Fantastic.
ceremony, the Italian was so made up because he knew if they'd gone to another height, he would never achieved it because he'd done his PB.
Yeah.
Oh, now that's Olympic.
That's what the Olympics is about.
That is
That
fantastic.
sort of behaviour.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
But
So what did
Ian.
Rafa Nadal say, Keith,
I'm sorry, I didn't read.
in the original Spanish?
I just saw the headline.
And this American girl who's been suffering, she's just won bronze, and she's come back with a one event, which is the bench.
Was it the beam?
The beam. Thank you.
The beam.
She got bronze, and everybody's given her a tremendous ovation. Considering
was that,
her
Ian?
Simone Biles.
Biles.
Simone
Right,
Biles.
Biles.
She came back to beat the demons, and she's got bronze, and all the competitors there, because there's no crowd, were cheering her on and the rest of it. They made a real. That's Olympics.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just out of interest, the British bloke is fighting a Cuban.
Yeah.
The gold medal.
He's fighting a cub, Keith. He's fighting a cub.
Yeah, and he looks to be doing quite well.
Yeah.
But it's in the final round. I didn't see the other rounds.
Anyway, on another planet, Dave, the news.
Sorry, Dave.
It was my
I'll just
fault.
quickly do this
Hang
one
on.
with only a minute. St
Yeah.
Helens beat Hull 42-10.
Yes!
While Catalan Dragons beat Hull KR 23-16. Catalan 8 points in front, but St Helens have 3 games in hand and play the Catalans on Saturday. So good news to Lancashire.
We'll see you in 5 minutes.
For now.
See you in 5.
Yeah, Pranic.